Hey you folks, Redney here. Welcome to another stream of Eraser's Perspective. We are primarily a e-magazine for Star Citizen Racing, but started doing this stream last couple weeks, having a little bit of fun on the side. Check us out at aracer'sperspective.com and download the first issue of our magazine if you haven't yet. So this is the second to last in the series on the rec system in Star Citizen. That's REC, and you earn rec in any of the Arena Commander modules or Star Marine matches that you do. And the fastest way to earn rec is through racing. You get a lot more rec for your time when you do races, even if you do very, very poorly. In races, you can still earn quite a bit of rec, quite a bit more than Star Marine, and especially quite a bit more than one of the swarms or arena matches, dogfighting. So with rec, you can buy multiple things. You can buy ship components and weapons. What we're going to focus on is the fact that you can rent ships and try out different ships. I think this is one of the best things you can do for free in Star Citizen right now. It's also, just generally speaking, one of the best uses of your time in terms of practicing for the greater persistent universe to come, or the release of 3.0 or what have you. Central to this game is flight and the ability to fly a ship. And so whether you're interested in racing as a specific activity, or you're more interested in cargo hauling or bounty hunting or one of those things, knowing how to fly and how to fly really well is going to help you accomplish things more quickly, more efficiently, and much more safely. It's going to get you out of a lot of tight spots too. It's not uncommon to hear folks making comments about ships flying similarly, or finding that they have great control of their ship in the PU and they take it into racing and it's crap. That's not because the flight mechanics have changed any. That's because folks are realizing how imprecisely they are actually flying their ships. In space, there's a lot of wiggle room, and you just don't notice all the drift. There's not a, just navigating around that asteroid, which is huge. There's not really a lot of difference that you're going to notice between even a few hundred meters. So the track is really good, even for non-racers, at really pointing out what your weak spots are, pointing out where you're not precise, so that if you're ever in that really tricky spot that you have to be precise like you might have to be on the racetrack. Maybe you looked away from your screen too long and you're about to hit an asteroid, or you're getting into a little bit of trouble at Khartu-Al and you don't want to crash into the pad. Whatever is maybe happening, it gives you that extra bit of skill to actually get yourself out of that situation quickly and fairly easily, because you got everything dedicated to muscle memory. So these are the ships that you can rent with rec. There's quite a few. Now you can only use these ships in the Arena Commander modules. You can't take them into the PU at this time. But it does give you the chance to fly them. It gives you the chance to also just check them out in free flight. It can be a lot of fun to just explore these ships. So maybe land it on a pad, or just stop it in the middle of space in one of the free flight maps and get out of your ship and EVA around it and check it out. So in each of these series, I've been checking out different sets of these ships. I've flown the Aurora models. I've flown the Argo MPV, carrier ships. I've flown the 300 series and the Hornet series, and the other night I did a fighter series, and we're down to our last two groups tonight and tomorrow night. Tonight's group is a bit of a hodgepodge. We'll be looking at the Cutlass Black, soon to be a little sexier with 3.0, hopefully. We'll be checking out the Khartu-Al, the Reliant, and the Vanguard. So I'm using a mouse and keyboard setup. A Corsair K95 keyboard and a Logitech G900 mouse. Mouse and keyboard work just fine for Star Citizen. A lot of people feel like they have to go out and buy a peripheral. You really don't need to. I think if you want to fly dual joysticks, add pedals in there, or if you like HOTAS, if you like a gamepad, although I don't recommend it for good control, you use whatever you like. But I do want people to know that they don't really need to buy a peripheral. You can fly just fine with mouse and keyboard. I do pretty all right. And what I'd add on top of that is that there's nothing about my skill level that's held back by mouse and keyboard. I'll put it that way. I'm not higher on the leaderboards because I'm not good enough to be higher on the leaderboards. And I haven't hit any kind of control setup ceiling or anything like that. So being typically in the top 25 for this year, and sometimes in the top 5 this year, I feel really confident in saying that mouse and keyboard, they're not going to hold you back. They might prevent you from experiencing the absolute best immersion, perhaps. They might not be your preferred, but you don't need to spend money on peripherals if you don't want to. That's the point. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get in to the game. I'm going to start out with the Cutlass Black. And what I'm going to do is I'm taking each ship around Old Vanderbilt about 5 laps, just enough to get the hang of it, make some commentary about how it flies, and hopefully get sort of a hot lap time, respective to my skill level, that is. And then at the end of reviewing all 4 ships, I will kind of choose a favorite, and I'll attempt to take it into some multiplayer matches. That being said, multiplayer has been a little lonely lately, at least for racing, so there is a possibility at the end that we won't find any matches, but hopefully that won't be the case. Hopefully we'll find some. So here we go into the game. Already got this ship queued up, and I'm gonna just get right into it. So I'm interested to see what they do with the ship's flight in 3.0, because frankly it flies pretty good as it is. It's got a pretty nice acceleration and deceleration. Both are equally important for racing. It flies pretty much like you'd expect for a ship of its size. But maybe a little bit more nimbly than you would really expect. So I was just flying the M50 a little bit ago. Normally it's pretty jarring to go from a dedicated racing ship like that, especially one that's so nimble, to a larger ship like this, and the Cutlass Black really makes it easy. And if I was flying this in the persistent universe with the frames of reference that gives you, ooh, I'd probably feel like I was an ace pilot. I can really get this thing around where I want to go. But you can see on the track, even though that crash a second ago aside, I'm doing pretty well. Despite that, you can see also that things are pretty sloppy still. And there's quite a ways to go in terms of identifying a clear, consistent flight path. Oh, you know, just kind of knocking my wing off. And I actually lost some thrusters there, so I'm gonna respawn. Oh jeez. So something I've also talked about every night of the series is the recognition of your ship's footprint. That's probably one of the most important things, especially for the bigger ships, is understanding, okay, what's my wiggle room here? Getting a feel for, where you are, where your ship is, especially if it's a larger ship like a Starfarer or something, in relation to the objects around you. That kind of stuff can really get you hung up in port, for example. So racing is really great for that. It gives you a sense of what that footprint is, because you got to fly through these rings and around all these obstacles. Oh, kind of red out. Oh, barely made it. Okay, hopefully last lap here. I think I've had a couple decent ones. Good enough. Sometimes I do extra lap if things have been really rotten. But they've been okay. Ooh. Well, I made it through. Just a little worried. One of the things that I was doing this last lap that you can do in a driftier ship, let's see what I did. 49 seconds, that's not too bad for a ship this size. Alright. So you can use acceleration to help your ship reorient itself if it's a little drifty. Alright, so the next ship is going to be the Khartu-Al. It's already a half of a racer, I guess. It's not sold as a racer, it's sold as a light fighter, and yet it's got some real get up and go. It's thought to be a decent racing ship, and I could be wrong, but I think in the lore somewhere there's the thought that someone might have won or done very well in a in-universe race at some point with this thing. Let's see. Oh. Well, that's not what I wanted to do. Technical difficulties, hold on. It's not going to do me a whole lot of good to race around Dying Star. Or maybe it was Broken Moon. Anywho. Alright, so once again, this is going to be the Khartu-Al. I'm just gonna make sure I've got everything right this time. Okay. Looks like it's good. Nice little alien overlay here. Now, footprint is really important in this thing. Even just out of the gate, you notice that this thing is a giant circle, and it's also made of glass. So if you hit one of your wingtips anywhere, this thing blows up. So it's super fast, and that's great, but not quite as nimble as the others. And boy, do you have to be careful about your flight line. I'm gonna be spending the first couple laps here just kind of figuring that out. If I was going to race with this thing, I would either want to spend a good amount of time practicing beforehand, jeez, or gosh, I would just pick something else. I mean, this is kind of ridiculous. I know somebody raced this thing in their Crux Cup. More power to them. I'm actually spawning with my wings stuck in the tunnel, which is part of the problem. And it could be that my line, which is built around an M50 with lots of wiggle room, could be that my line just kind of sucks for this ship. And that's part of learning your ship too. That process of racing the track until you figure it out, your specific ship's line, that's gonna it's gonna really educate you about how your ship flies. That's ridiculous. Got this thing pretty good centered there, and I still can't make it through. Unbelievable. I'm not going to be able to demonstrate a lap time because I can't get out of the tunnel. Oh, jeez. Oh, man. So the Khartu-Al is one of those ships that I really want to love. It's just not for me. I've tried it out in a lot of settings. This is not by any means the first time I've flown the ship, although it's the first time in a good while. One of the things I really like about the M50, and am excited for with the upcoming Razor, is they're tiny. They can fit through little cracks. And this ship is like the opposite of that. Oh, jeez. Ooh. Just let me get one time that's not full of crashes. And I pass out. So one advantage of this ship, if you do pass out into it, you're almost guaranteed not to have to wait till you come to, because you will be dead before that happens. Alright. I figured out how to go through the tunnel, so it is achievable. What I'm learning is I actually have more clearance below me than I think, and less clearance above me. So that's really helpful, but not helpful enough. Oh jeez. Oh jeez. Well, maybe if I could piece together my absolute best at every single point, I could get a decent time. But, oh jeez. Alright, what did I get? 53 seconds? Sure, good enough. Oh, I'm positive this ship goes much faster. I'd be surprised if the top pilots in a Khartu-Al weren't getting at least 40-second lap times, probably even in the sort of the 30-second range. But without more practice, I'm just not capable. And one of the things I mentioned repeatedly, because it's true, I am a lazy racer, and I follow the rule of fun very, very closely, which means I'm not going to learn a ship like the Khartu-Al probably, because I'm not going to spend enough time to do it. That's my fault. That's not the Khartu-Al's fault, but that's how it is. So I now know for sure the ship I'm not going to be racing in the public matches later. So next is the Reliant Core. This also is really large top to bottom, so I'm curious to see if I'll have the same problems exploding all over the place that I did before with the Khartu-Al. We'll see. This is a much slower ship. Ooh, quite a massive amount of drift in this thing. I'm using boost and drifting like I'm in a Argo or something. Very interesting. Ooh, this is like flying an Aurora. What the heck? You know, it's basically like a flying wing, right? So it's a ship that you would anticipate possibly being pretty maneuverable, and it's just not. This thing drifts like crazy. Which tells me if I'm ever flying this in the Versa, I'm gonna want to be careful about what types of maneuvers I try to make in this thing. Unbelievable. I'm using a lot of decelerating and accelerating to try to help make those turns a little tighter. It's just not working with this thing. So if the Cutlass is above average for a ship of its size and dimensions, this ship is way below average. I would expect a ship like this to feel more nimble on the track, even if maybe its top speed is slower. It should feel more nimble on the track than a Cutlass, or at least not less. And yet this thing, by comparison, is almost unflyable. This is the type of thing you might not even notice about your ship. Flying in the persistent universe, you get it on the track and you realize I better be careful not to try any hotshot moves, because you're just gonna skid off the rails. And I'm not usually one who uses the strafe keys, but I'm employing those as well to try to adjust my vector. It's not enough in this thing. That slight turn between those last two rings still had a lot of drift. This is something I'm doing out of curiosity. This is one of those cases where you might actually consider comm stab. Comm stab is not something that you're going to want to use if you're trying to top the leaderboards in racing. Not by a long shot. But there we go. But it does help you maintain directional control of your ship, and it's proving mildly useful for this thing. Look how much it still drifts. Oh, jeez. Okay. Alright, so again, this is the Reliant core, and I've got 59-second laps. So it takes almost twice as long to get around the track in this thing than an M50. Than me in an M50. This is all relative to my particular skill, which is typically about 33 to 35 second laps on OV in an M50, and it goes down from there with less maneuverable, less fast ships. So our last ship is the Vanguard, and ironically, I'm gonna guess it's gonna fly substantially better around the track than the much smaller Reliant. Let's see if that's actually true. So in my experience, Aegis ships tend to fly pretty good, especially for their size and shape. I'm just going to show you really quick. This is a bigger ship, so I've got to be mindful. Of corners in this thing. Oh, okay. I thought I could take that a little quicker than I could. So the Vanguard is actually so much more maneuverable than the Reliant that I'm having a difficult time adjusting. I'm overcompensating with some of my turns. Now that's not to say this thing isn't a little cumbersome. It is a long-range heavy fighter. It's big. I think it's bigger than the Cutlass Black, at least the version we have right now, and it definitely flies like it. But it's nimble for a ship of its size. Oh, I'm gonna have to figure out how to fly that turn in this thing. It's twice I've made that same mistake. Alright, I'm gonna follow my own advice about learning a ship around the track, and that's take it slow. I'm out of boost fuel, so I have to take it slow until I can get into the tunnel here. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Okay, let's see what we can do here. So I'm gonna be a little more gentle. Just focus on not crashing. What that's gonna do for me is I'm gonna be practicing good habits, not bad. Developing the kind of muscle memory that's gonna prevent me from making stupid mistakes down the line rather than sort of subconsciously causing me. I'm gonna have to go on the other side of the billboard, no problem. Lines me up for this ring. So it might be a little slow, but it's safe. I can use that as a foundation to kind of gradually build up my speed over time as I become a little bit more skilled and therefore confident in what I'm playing. Oh. I'm gonna go around the billboard, actually using that as my turning marker. That gives me enough time to actually decelerate and make the turn. And makes the billboard work for me instead of against me. Okay, we've got one more lap to try to make a decent time here, and I'm clipping stuff. Yeesh. Here we go, trying to make a tighter corner here than I did last time. Sort of. Oh, okay, that was bad. the billboard to make my turn. And crash. And out of boost fuel. Oh, jeez. Well, we'll limp across the finish line. Oh, this thing is actually slower than the Reliant was, so I have to eat my words a little bit there. I gotta say though, this was a lot more enjoyable to fly. Okay, gonna go ahead and stop there. I'm gonna head into a few public matches with the Cutlass. I really like the look of that ship. I like the look of the rework even more. Okay, let's try our luck. I had me a game crash. So I'm going to restart. The joys of alpha. Not sure I've ever actually had a crash though, trying to load into a public match. If you're watching, say something in chat, ask a question, or just say hi. Gotta fill the time. Alright, we're in business. We've got at least one person racing, CoreX13. And we get to start out right on Defford, which should be interesting. It's a long course. I'm going to get to learn how much fuel the Cutlass has and how much it burns. Oh, that was bad, that was bad, that was bad. And we recovered. Okay, now I kind of thread the needle of these buildings here. It'll be interesting to see if I can do that. Oh. Oh, jeez. Well, maybe not. We'll have to see about a different flight path there. Again, we're comparing the M50 to the Cutlass in terms of the line that I naturally use. So I just might not be able to get away with some of the tighter spots that I try to fly through normally. So I think what's his name? Corax. I think he's flying a Mustang, which is a decent ship around the track. Oh, he left. Alright, we're gonna just go ahead and try a different match then. And Corex is back. Hopefully he left because of the track and not because of us. He's flying a wider line there. I don't think I've ever seen Corex in a race before, but I'm going to guess that he's a little bit newer to racing. But from what I saw at the beginning of Defert, he seems to have pretty good control of a ship. So maybe not a new pilot. And if you do try racing just to practice your piloting skills, don't worry about your race time actually at all. Especially don't worry about winning or losing. Either way, your wreck that you earn is going to be great. What you should concern yourself with is what I noticed with Corax just for those first couple rings on Defert anyway. It looked like he had control of his ship. He was flying through the rings in a straight path. I didn't see a lot of drifting or a lot of corrections, and that's what you want for yourself. That's precision. If you're not looking to be a racer, there's no need to be fast. Just focus on being precise. That's important for every profession in Star Citizen. And that's why I think everyone should race, not just racers. If you don't want to race as a profession in Star Citizen, or you don't really like racing, there's plenty more to do. But it's worth at least taking your favorite ship out on the track often enough, or for long enough to get to learn how to fly it precisely. Oh, I forgot that was the last lap. Darn it. Usually I try not to finish, especially on OV. It's kind of a bummer for the other pilot or pilots, and they don't get to finish. So what I would have liked to have done there is skip the last ring and just continue going through the tunnel without actually completing the race, and given Corax a chance to finish. But sometimes I forget. Alright, this is my chance to redeem myself. I'm finally starting to feel pretty comfortable in this ship. So again, this is the Cutlass Black. And it's a fun ship to fly for its size. Oh, I almost forgot to stop again. Oh, I think he's in a P-52. He's gotten into a bit of trouble here. We'll stop out of the way. Wait for him. Here he comes. I love the buzzing sound that ship makes. It's just so good. A little bumblebee. And he wasn't that far behind. He's gonna finish there. Yeah, 58-second laps. And if I'm right about his ship, not too bad. Ooh, a new guy, Gorham 888. And looks like we're gonna have another chance to try Defford. Gorham's in a M50. Hakuliu in his Mustang. This will be a fun race. Whee. I'd love it if we could have races with 25 folks on the track. I know there'd be a few extra explosions. Be totally worth it. It would really feel like a race. Okay, so I can't fly that line. That's my second attempt. I just cannot fly that line in this ship. So I'm gonna have to improvise for the next lap. Hopefully I can catch up. I'm in second place. Very nearly third place. That Mustang is right on my tail. And it looks like Gorham, perhaps unsurprisingly, in his M50 is outpacing both myself and Hikulu. I'm not sure where he is, but it looks like Gorham's got a pretty sizable lead. In addition to flying an M50, he must be a decent pilot as well. It looks like I've lost some thrusters in this thing again, so I'm gonna suicide. I think that'll be an interesting mechanic in persistent universe races. The fact that you can't just do that, it's not an arcade game anymore. You can't just respawn your ship. If you break off a wing or lose some thruster power, etc., it's gone. You're gonna have to deal with it. I think it's gonna change how people race, as opposed to Arena Commander a fair amount. Okay. 328. Oh man, let's see if we can do better than that, huh? That's my first full lap on Defford, perhaps ever, in the Cutlass Black, but still, put that in perspective. Decent lap for me in the M50. Oh, why am I going this way again? There we go. A decent lap for myself in the M50 would be about 2 minutes. Top racers are doing it closer to 1:30. So, pretty slow. 328 is pretty darn slow. And oh hey, so Gorham I'm gonna guess is right at about or above me on the leaderboards for Defford. So yeah, he's a pretty good pilot. There's no way we're gonna beat him in this Cutlass. I don't think I've raced Gorham before. It'll be fun to see exactly where he ends up with his total race time. And after this race, I might see if I can't sneak in one last race with the M50 and hopefully go head to head with him. Oh, I'm being lapped. Yeah, look at him go. And I'm out of fuel. Oh, jeez. I mean, you can just see he's just totally outpacing what I can do here. That was his last lap. It's very improbable that we're going to finish this race. Especially if he leaves. If I see him leave the match, I'm gonna try to follow him. Well, we did. Whoa! Stop paying attention. We did improve our lap time a fair amount, but still well over a minute slower in this ship than than is typical for myself. Oh. Just a little bump, no big deal. Yeah. Alright. Race is gonna end. I'm gonna make a adjustment to the ship that I'm flying. I'm gonna switch to my M50. Gorm had a race time of 6:01. That's pretty close to my top time. I'm gonna guess that he's better than I am, at least on Deptford. Which is why I'm excited to go head to head. This might change down the line, but at this point in the game, I prefer to play people that are better than me, that are going to beat me. Basically, I prefer to lose, and that's just because there's such a spread of skill levels, and there's no matchmaking system. Come on, Gorham, come on, are you in here? Yes, 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 yes. And it looks like it's Deptford again, so I'm going to just get to go head to head against his Deptford time. I kind of like that that's sort of a rematch, but I also don't like that I'm worst by far at Deptford, so it's going to be really tough to beat him. But maybe I can keep up this time. It might also be a bit jarring going from the Cutlass to this. We'll see if I can manage not to crash. I would say, especially if he's managing his fuel at all, he's better than I am. I think he's skimming rings, so I'll mention that. I don't know if that's true or not. It's not a cheat, it's an exploit though. Basically, if you fly close enough to the rings right now in racing without actually flying through them, it'll still record that you did it. So you still have to kind of hit the checkpoints. You have to get in the general area, but the fact that you don't actually have to go through the ring can really give you an advantage in some spots. In particular, the first couple rings, not the first couple, but where I flew through those buildings there on Deptford to make it through the rings. If you skim those, you can save several seconds on your lap time. I don't do that myself. It's a little bit too close to. Well, I think it's fair game because it's a mechanic in game right now, but it's also so clearly not the intention of the design of the track that I prefer to practice going through the rings. Not to mention the fact that CIG is almost guaranteed to fix that later on, so I don't want to practice flying in a different way than I'm going to need to down the road. Yeah, this is a really... this is what I love. I'm under constant threat of losing the race. I expect to lose. And that gets my blood pumping a little bit. I feel like I'm really racing. Sometimes it can feel a bit like a time trial. So if you can see, he's kind of flying past the ring, and that's kind of what makes me think that maybe he's skimming. Again, I don't know that he is, and it's certainly not an accusation or anything, even if he is. But I'm just commenting on one, the fact that skimming exists, and two, sort of what that means. The reason I'm so much worse on Defford is because I'm just garbage at fuel management. And Defford requires you to be somewhat good at it. So what I end up doing is I end up flying either way too slow in order to keep my fuel, or whoa, that came out of nowhere for me. Or I fly too fast, and of course, then I run out. Oof, oof. That's obviously slow at the end of the race too, like right now. Got to kind of limp across the finish line. That's going to give Gorham quite the lead here. I'll be able to finish this race, but I won't win it. For a first place position, I'm dependent on Gorham at this point to pass out, pretty much. Even a crash isn't going to let me catch up. And that's, of course, assuming that I don't really make any mistakes. And because I'm pushing it, trying to catch up with him, I probably will make mistakes. But I am pretty hot on his tail, actually. Maybe a crash at this point could get me where I need to be. Oh, that was close. Died, but I don't think that's gonna be enough. Yeah, he's gonna beat me. Okay, we're a little bit after, but I'm gonna see if I can't catch him on a different track. I'm curious to see how we stack up with one another when we're not having to worry about boost fuel. Basically, I'd like to try to win one. That's what it really means. Let's see if he's up for another match. Oh, it's another Defford. Okay, it wasn't meant to be. Alright, well, thank you for watching the stream. I appreciate it. Definitely follow us if you liked it at all. Also, please give us feedback through aracer'sperspective.com. You can find all sorts of ways to contact a racer's perspective, give feedback on the stream, check out the magazine, uh, give feedback on that. I really appreciate critical feedback in particular. It's pretty rare, I'm finding, and I don't like doing this stuff in a vacuum. I definitely want to hear what people think. It gives me a chance to improve, not just on the things that I would like to improve on, but on things maybe I'm not really aware that I need to improve on. So again, hope you enjoyed the stream. Check out our website. And if you'd like to participate in an episode of A Racer's Perspective, that's another reason to get in touch. Get in touch with me any way that you like, through the website, an email, or Spectrum, or Discord, or whatever you like. Get in touch and let me know about your interest, and we'll figure out a time for you to join us here on the stream. I think that would make, frankly, for a lot more interesting show, having a couple more folks to talk to. So anyway, take care, have a good night, and I'll see you all tomorrow at 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Take care.